time. One more time. Just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, grains of sand uncountable. I am enough. Just like the clouds so beautiful, like the earth billions of people, stars in the sky innumerable. I know. And we sing, I am enough. Oh, I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. I am enough. Raise your fist up high and say, oh, I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, the grains of sand, I can't count them all, but I know I am enough. And I look at the clouds, they're so beautiful, like the earth, billions and billions of people, stars in the sky, innumerable. I know. We sing, I am enough. Oh, we are enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. I am enough. Oh, yeah. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am power, and I am peace, I am love, eternally, and I am whole, and complete, oh, that's who I am, that's who I be. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Oh, we are enough. We are enough. We are enough. We are enough. We are. Yes, we are. Don't wait for anybody else to tell you. It's the truth of who you are. It's the truth of who you are. Hey, you are born good. You remain good. You are born good. You remain good. Hey, you are. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. so it is. And so it is. And so it is. One more time. One more time. Just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, grains of sand uncountable. I am enough. Just like the clouds so beautiful, like the earth billions of people, stars in the sky innumerable. I know. And we sing, I am enough. Oh, I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. I am enough. Raise your fist up high and say, oh, I am enough. Just as I am. just as I am. Just as I am enough. Yes, and so it is. And so it is. And so it is. One more time. One more time. Just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, grains of sand uncountable. I am enough. Just like the clouds so beautiful, like the earth, billions of people, stars in the sky innumerable. I know. And we sing, I am enough. Oh, I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. I am enough. Raise your fist up high and say, oh, I am enough. Just as I am. Just as I am. I am enough. Just like the air is plentiful, flowers that bloom in multiples, the grains of sand, I can't count them all, but I know I am enough. And I look at the clouds, they're so beautiful, like the earth, billions and billions of people, stars in the sky innumerable. I know I am enough. And we sing, I am enough. Oh, we are Good morning. Happy Sunday. It is so good to see you. It is so good to be here with you. We are going to have an awesome time today. And let us begin, as we always do, with prayer. And this morning, our prayer champion, Vanessa, will be leading us in prayer.
Yes, yes.
Good morning, Celebration Spiritual Center. Let's settle in together with a deep breath, breathing in and releasing. And one more time, inhaling peace and exhaling into the present. There is one that is everything and anything, one that is constant, timeless, limitless, one that is wholeness itself. We name it God, divine spark, source, mother, father. We know it to be the only creator, the only law operating, the only truth expressing, the only life living. We understand that we are one and the same with this life. Mother, Father, God, in, through, and as every atom, cell, organ, function that we associate with our names. One and the same we, with the inherent love, light, wisdom, abundance, prosperity, unconditionally provided by the divine designer. And being defined by this truth clearly, we are separate and different from that which is limited, lacking, broken, uncertain. Definitely, we should not start or continue to resonate with that which is out of this harmony, or contradicting worthiness, or doubting perfect provision. With compassion, we identify any space within us where those beliefs have been residing and clear it here and now. The fear released, the hammer down, the defenses removed. Open and receptive, we welcome God into that space. We welcome the good that serves us well, the guide that directs our purpose, the wellness that pours into and from us continuously, the righteousness that is afforded to each and every. We welcome the wisdom that expands to meet all ideas, the inspiration that feeds divine creativity, the love that enlightens our relationship, the peace that anchors us through all experience. We welcome this Celebration Spiritual Center service, knowing the face of God in our pastors, the power of love in the message, and exactly whatever will support the prosperity of the day, the week, the life ahead. We delight in this experience together, and we brighten up the world with our collective joy and gratitude today. This we release to the one and only, to that which knows us, loves us, and responds precisely. Well equipped to have and hold the truth, we expect good outcomes, and we envision the same for any loved ones coming to mind here and now. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for this ability to commune in the truth with this community, for this world that reveals it beautifully, for the miracles that will manifest from the seeds planted today. Centered, joyful, affirmative, we go in and move forward on the word and power back of Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Amen. Ashe, and so it is.
So it is.
Thank you, Nessa, and thank you to our prayer champions, all of our prayer champions, for continuing to be here with and for us, to continue to hold and know the truth with us. It is absolutely necessary, not just in the midst of a pandemic, but always, in all ways. And so we definitely appreciate your service. Yes. We appreciate your showing up. We appreciate your commitment. So I'm sure that there's someone here that is joining us for the very first time, and we're so happy that you chose to spend your time here at CSC to stream in, because we know there are so many places that you could stream on this Sunday morning, but something or someone prompted you to join us here at CSC, and we are grateful. And so if you are a first-time guest, we want to stay in touch with you, and it's very easy to do. All you have to do is send a text message to this phone number you see here on your screen, 347-472-1078. Please just text the word welcome. No other information is needed, no emojis or signatures. And the process has a few steps. So you text you receive a reply with a link. Tap that link and enter your information. Once you've entered and submitted your information, you'll receive another text that says, you're all set. Congratulations. We're noticing that some people aren't completing the process. And so we can't get you, you're not going to be on the mailing list if you do not complete the process and you do not see that final message that says you're all set. If you would like to, of course, we'd love for you to shout yourself out in the comments. Let us know where you're connecting in from. And we are so grateful to have you here with us, to share with us. So we have some announcements. We have not a lot, but some new announcements to share this month. So we'll get into that, and then we can get into meditation and into class. All right, there we go. Beautiful. So the first thing is to know that it's May, and as most of you know, Memorial Day weekend, CSC is closed. We do not have Sunday service on Memorial Day weekend. So many of you, this may be the first time that you're with us in May. So know that the last Sunday of this month, we will not be having service. We will not have class. So feel free to stream another service. We can offer you suggestions if you'd like some suggestions. Also, as it's May, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we, of course, as a church and as pastors, are always talking about mental health. We think it's very important. We think that not enough churches speak about it and provide resources, and so this is and has been one of the focuses that we as a spiritual center and as a church do focus on. So we want you to we'll be posting different things and sharing things throughout the month related to Mental Health Awareness Month, but also we want to make sure that you're aware as New Yorkers of the NYC Well resources that are here. And if you go to the NYC Well website, there's also COVID-related resources that are provided for you. But whether we're in the midst of a pandemic, and so I think all of us have had challenges and may need to talk to someone. This resource has always been here for us as New Yorkers, and so we encourage you to take advantage of it. The other thing I love to say is, even if you don't think you are in need of these services, or to talk to someone, or to be pointed in the right direction of additional services, this is an awesome thing that you can refer friends to, right? So often we try to be our friend's therapist, and that's not a good idea.
That's actually not your role.
Right, yeah. It's not your role. But if you have a friend that may be talking about suicide, or maybe you can just tell that they're in a depressive condition, you can actually give them this resource, which is easy and effortless. I think that's very important.
Yes, and as a church, we want to, me personally and as a church, we want to take any stigma off of mental health related issues. It's no different than any other issue that we would seek attention for. We just want to make sure that you have the resources, or if you're not here in the New York area, I'm sure there are similar resources where you are. Seek those out. There is nothing wrong with seeking help for your mental health as well as your physical health.
Yes, as we say, you need your pastors and your therapists.
You need them both.
It's important. It's important. We are in a new month, which means that the third Sunday of this month is God Talk Sunday. For those of you that are not familiar with what the God Talk is, this is your opportunity to ask questions, learn to apply spiritual principles to your life. There may be something specific that's going on. You may have read something, you may have heard something, say something in a sermon, or you may just be trying to apply metaphysical principles, or just be in a challenge. And so PY and I make ourselves available. It's a 1-hour session. It goes by quickly. It's always
It really
dynamic.
does.
It's always fun. It's always engaging. No question is off limits. Now, to ask a question, you have to be there, right? This happens in person, and because we're virtual, it happens in Zoom. So in order to get the information, you have to be on our mailing list. The Zoom link and password is sent to our mailing list in our weekly email. So for those of you, again, who are joining us for the first time, you'll see the information again throughout the service. I'll just put it here on the screen again. You need to text the word welcome to 347-472-1078. By texting welcome to that number, following the instructions, you're on our mailing list, then you will get that Zoom link so that you can be a part of the God Talk, which is always wonderful.
It is, and it's an opportunity for us to see you. You get to see us every Sunday, and it's nice to see your faces at least once a month at God Talk. Remember, we do not record God Talk. Whatever happens in God Talk stays in God Talk.
Yes.
And you want to be there because
Yes,
it's always engaging, always insightful, and an opportunity for us to come together as a community on the third Sunday of the month.
Absolutely. We are a church that believes in prayer, and so we have a prayer call every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The information is here on your screen. Also, you see that there's a playback number, so you can access the most recent prayer, which is recorded every week. I share a reading, and then either one of us or one of our prayer champions leads us in prayer. It is a wonderful time to align. It's a wonderful time to connect. It's a wonderful way to begin your day and establish the vibration, because the truth is, part of our spiritual practice is the daily choosing, right? You could have chosen last month to know the truth that you are prosperous, but you actually have to make that choice every day. And so we do things on a daily basis that support us in doing that. And so the Momentum Prayer Call is one of the things that absolutely does that. Now, if you have a prayer request, then you can send us an email to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. That email is received by the two of us. It is also received by all of our prayer champions, and we hold the truth. We know the truth with you. We do not play around with the condition or the experience, but we live in the absolute knowing. We live in the absolute knowing that nothing but good can come from it, right? We do not try to pray for a specified outcome, but we pray from the knowing that Source will make use of this and the outcome will be beneficial for all involved, right? That's very, very, very important.
And also let us know when the prayer is answered. We like
Please.
hearing that as well.
Yeah, we do. We do. So as I hope all of you know, we are in our Truth Sunday Masterclass. It's something that we began last year. We're doing it again, so we're not doing, sort of the traditional sermons that we would do with a service, but we are teaching. We are teaching the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. Let us know in the comments if you have your book. If you don't already have your book, you'll see in the post, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, there's a link to Amazon. You can grab this version of the book that you see on the screen. You can get any version that you want. It's in public domain, and so many people have published and republished the book. But it's important that you have it. And shout out, if you have it, are you reading it? That's also important. So let us know. I'm reading it.
I'm reading with you.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we're looking forward to getting into the next chapter, talking about the law of non-resistance today. But we just want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on and what we're doing. And so after meditation, we're going to get into the next chapter, and we just go line by line, page by page, paragraph by paragraph. There's some beautiful things to illuminate. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there's some beautiful things to illuminate, and I look forward to going through that today.
Absolutely.
Well, now it is time for meditation, and PY will lead and guide us.
Yes, it is. It's a new month, and so it is time for a new affirmative thought. It's time to speak a new word. I love that first line in the last chapter where Florence Scovel Shinn talks about man's spoken word and the power that it has, and that it is constantly, our spoken word is constantly making new laws or making law for ourselves. That's why we affirm these things. That's why we bring a thought to our mind. When the mind has a tendency to do its own thing, we bring it back to a truth. And what is the law that we want to affirm for ourselves, to make true for ourselves today, this month? Very simple. 3 words. All is well. That is our affirmative thought this month. And you might be like, PY, no, it's not. I'm not talking about what you currently see. I'm talking about the truth that we are speaking and holding together. The truth that we are knowing together. Because wherever you are, God is, and all is well. Whether you are in a mountaintop experience or whether you are in a valley experience, God is there and all is well. We just remember that we are always connected to the truth of our being. And when we speak these words, all is well, we bring our mind, we bring our physiology back to the truth. Moment by moment, breath by breath, all is well. That simple act of saying it aloud or speaking it softly or holding it as an internal awareness is what we must do in times where it appears to be something opposite happening. And so this month, we're going to make a law for ourselves. We're going to remind ourselves of the truth that all is well. And so, go ahead and look around your space wherever you find yourself, seated upright in a chair, on your bed, on your sofa. Just allow your shoulders to relax over the hips, to create an alignment in the spine, and to create a flow where breath can move unobstructed. Again, settle in, knowing that you are safe right where you sit. And with ease and non-resistance, allow the eyes to close. And as the eyes close, something happens beautifully. We begin to bring our focus to the internal. We signal our body in a nice, soft, easy way. It's time to relax. And we shut out what no longer is our focus. Our focus is internal. Our focus is connection. Our focus is the truth. So with our eyes closed, let's just notice the breath right where it is, whether it appears to be deep or shallow. We notice that breath. We stand in gratitude for the breath, and we allow it to move. Let's take a few rounds to just notice. Last round to notice. Last round to remember. And now, let us take conscious control of our breath because it is ours to do so. Let's send the breath and our focus into the low belly. We relax the low belly and we inhale, expanding the low belly. Hold it there. And nice slow count to 4. Release the breath. Open the mouth and relax the jaw. In through the low belly, count to 4, expanding. Hold it there, count to 4. Open the mouth and relax the jaw. Exhale. In through the low belly, now up through the rib cage, expanding the front and the sides and the back of the body. Feeling it all and filling it all with breath. Hold it there. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, and sigh it out. Feels good to breathe, so we breathe in through the low belly, up through the rib cage again, expanding, sending it to places where it was not before, making room for all as well in our being. Hold it there. And open the mouth and release, sigh it out. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage, now up to the heart chakra, center of the chest, where the healing happens, the true center of our experience, the place where joy and truth and healing come together. Open the mouth and release it. Again, in through the low belly, up through the rib cage to the heart, creating a new set point. Hold it there. New reality, new knowing, new word. And release. Each time we take a full breath in and up, we signal our physiology it can relax and remember that all is well. So let's practice taking several rounds of deep breath in through the low belly, all the way up through the heart, holding it at the top. And from this point forward, close the lips and exhale through the nose. This will be our form of breath work, in and out through the nose. Each round relaxing. Each round speaking the truth for ourselves, that all is well. Last round here. And now, let's send that breath, that truth, that word into our feet. Relax the feet. Maybe you notice some tension, and so raising the heels and lowering them nice and easy, or wiggling the toes. Stop the movement and relax. All is well in our experience, right here and now. Energy gathers beneath the feet, rooting us, grounding us, and we open and give it permission to flow through the feet, across the ankles. Relax the ankles. Energy moves up our shins and calves. Relax the shins and the calves. And now the energy flows across our knees. We allow ourselves to be flexible and bend and heal and open to all as well. Relax the knees. Energy now flows across our thighs, our hamstrings and our glutes, Relax the thighs, the hamstrings, and the glutes. And as the energy gathers in our hips, relax the hip sockets, surrendering them in joy and in knowing all is well. Beautiful, and as this energy is gathered, we give it permission to flow, the energy to move upward and out, opening and activating and balancing each chakra. The energy begins to flow up, 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 and out the crown of our head. We imagine in our mind energy gathered above us, signaling that all is well for us and all is well for our community and our world. And now, allowing the energy to flow back down through the crown, activating our intuitive ability, flowing down, opening our throat, speaking words of truth, across our shoulders and down our arms. Shoulders relax as energy flows out to the fingertips. And let's take a few more rounds here to bathe in all is well by sending the energy right side and left side. So breathing into the right side, breathing in and up. Exhaling down the left side. Inhaling up. Exhaling down the right side. Inhaling up the right side. And exhaling down the left side. Inhaling up the left side. Exhaling down the right. It's as if we're being held and rocked, knowing that all is well. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Let's bring that energy to the center, inhaling up. And either planting the palms on the tops of the thighs or turning them up to receive, releasing the breath and settling in to all is well. Scan your body one last time. Notice if there's any resistance or any holding or any tension. Send the breath there. And if the mind wanders, it's okay. When you become aware, bring it back to this spoken word, that all is well. All is well. All is well. And so I will monitor the time. You take the inward journey. And when you hear my voice again, it will be time to begin our return. But for now, relax in the connection and knowing that all is well now. with our eyes still closed, we just notice some settling, some moments of quiet on the inside that remind us that all is well. It's not that things don't happen on the external, but we can bring ourselves back to the stillness whenever we need. With our eyes closed and our focused selves, we feel answers, we feel peace, we feel connection. With our eyes closed, we've given ourselves an opportunity for peace and quiet, moment by moment, breath by breath. With our eyes closed, we stand in gratitude for any sensation of opening and allowing we've created. For we know that wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's begin to make our way back now, nice and easy. No rush to open the eyes. Take the mental picture of how it feels to relax. It is what we need right now, relaxation. And so we enjoy it and we bring it back with us. If the palms are turned up, go ahead and turn them down. And together let us begin to slowly wake the body, maybe rubbing the tops of the thighs and the knees, maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes. Whatever is nice and easy to wake the body. Nothing to jar us back into physical sensation. Only love to bring us back by our own loving embrace, our own loving touch. Stop the movement. Inhale and draw the shoulders up by the ears. And shoulders back. Exhale, release the breath. Inhale, draw the shoulders up by the ears. Shoulders back. Exhale, release them nice and easy down. Last time. Inhale, draw the shoulders up by the ears. Back and release them down. And notice even more relaxation in the body now, bringing the palms together at heart center, lightly touching thumbs into sternum. And nice and easy, bowing the chin to the fingertips. With our eyes still closed, we notice the breath flowing across the fingertips. We notice the sensation of relaxation and the time that we've given ourselves. We bow in honor of our collective quiet, of our collective knowing. We bow in honor of those who have preceded. And we remember that we could not be more worthy or more loved by God. Slowly flutter the eyes open, taking in a point on the floor in front of you. Nice and easy, soft gaze. Inhale. Raise the chin, raise the gaze. Release the breath. Namaste.
Yes, yes. Namaste. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
So we are in, I believe it's the fourth chapter of the text, the law of non-resistance. You will see it on the screen in a bit as well. But if you have any questions as you're reading the text and then things come up, that's all good. You can send an email to truthsunday@celebrationsc.org. And what we will do is incorporate those questions and each week to make sure that you're getting the most out of this. So we actually didn't receive any questions about the reading this week. So we'll just go into the text and have some fun.
Yeah, let's get this party started.
Let's see here. Get myself some. All right. The law of non-resistance. Now, one of the things I want to say I think is important. This is a principle that I think we teach and speak on a lot. And so there are a couple of sermons. If you go to the Working with the Law series, there's a sermon on the law of non-resistance in that series. Also, The Way of the Master Metaphysician is actually a wonderful series that aligns with this particular chapter. We talk about non-resistance. That series was based on the book Body, Mind, Mastery by Dan Millman. And so Florence Scovel Shinn begins with the scripture, resist not evil. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. The Chinese say that water is the most powerful element because it is perfectly non-resistant. It can wear away a rock and sweep all before it. Interesting. Do y'all remember where we started in the new year? You remember what the sermon was that we revisited in January, our first service of the new year? Be like water, right? One of the things that I think is important is that we really learn to live, embody, and integrate this principle as we are still in the pandemic, as we are still moving through uncertain and challenging times. Now, it's interesting. She says the Chinese say, right? Actually, the Taoists say, right? So all Chinese people aren't Taoists, right? There are many different religions and many other spiritual philosophies. So, this is something I think is important, one, to just dig a little deeper, and also to acknowledge the perspective from which she's writing, which can be problematic at times. So this is a Taoist understanding. If you read the Tao Te Ching, you'll hear those words, be like water, and you'll read what that's about. And when you think about water, and why I encourage you to go back to that sermon as well, is because what water does is it's not swayed by its conditions either. So it's not just that it can wear away rock. It's that there's a rock in my way. Oh, I'll just go over it, go around it, go underneath it. Nothing is going to stop me from becoming what it is that I'm becoming, right? From doing what it is that I'm doing, from having what it is that I'm having. And so that's important, because when you hear nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person, that sounds like nothing on earth can stop somebody that's right, that's strong and can resist.
Or that's a doormat. It's non-resistance is, I'm glad we're talking about it, because it's misunderstood a lot of the times. The other beautiful thing about water is it can take on any form.
Yes, any form.
Right? And so if water is put in an ice tray, it becomes ice cubes. So it's water is malleable, it moves, it flows, it's flexible, it fills up any room, any surface, right?
Yep.
And so those are the other things about water that we're paying attention to.
Yep.
It is powerful.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Jesus Christ said, resist not evil, for he knew in reality there is no evil, therefore nothing to resist. Evil has come from our vain imagination or belief in two powers, good and evil. There's an old legend that Adam and Eve ate of Maya, the tree of illusion, and saw two powers instead of one power, God. Now, again, I encourage you to go back and you can find it on YouTube. We actually have a playlist that I believe it's the Reimagine the Bible playlist that goes into the Adam and Eve story. Because I love that she says this, but the thing is she kind of drops things and then doesn't talk more about it, right? So it's not just that it's an old legend, it's the truth of the Adam and Eve story, right? That Adam and Eve are not literal human beings that walk the earth. But the story of Adam and Eve is a story that's helping us to understand the problem of duality, aka separation, the problem of two, when you're operating from this consciousness of two powers, of good and evil, right? Of clothed and naked. And so this is why the reason they were banished from the Garden of Eden was because they believed something was wrong with them. They believed that they were naked. They believed that they needed to hide from good, as symbolized in God walking through the garden, right? And so because of that belief, they could no longer live in this place of union and unity, right? And so that's what's going on here. And so she keeps bringing us back to that, right? We got this in a previous chapter, this idea of two powers, but there's really one power. And we can be so sure that when we're in fear, doubt, and worry and lack, if we stop and take a breath, we can ask ourselves, am I believing in one power or two right now?
I always come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
What am I believing to be true right now?
Mm-hmm.
How many powers are there?
Mm-hmm.
What is supposedly against me right
Mm-hmm.
now?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm in alignment with God, then there's nothing against me. It's hard sometimes to automatically start to bring your mind back there when there appears to be something confronting you or in opposition to you.
Of course.
But we have to reimagine.
Mm-hmm.
We've used our imagining for evil, quote unquote, right? We've used our mind to worry, for doubt, for fear. But we have to bring it back to the truth. The mind will always do what the mind does, think.
Right.
Thank God that it's there. It's a vehicle to think. We get to decide what we think about and how we think and how we interpret and how we use our imagination. Imagination is an amazing tool.
Yes, it is.
It's a tool that we use for our good, not to our detriment.
Exactly.
We think that by focusing in on all the worst possible scenarios or the evil that could happen is the optimal word here, could happen, that we are actually solving the problem. We're not. We're making the problem bigger than God.
Absolutely.
We're creating our own devil. We're creating our own evil. And then what happens is sometimes we live from that evil,
Right.
that devil, that worry, that doubt.
And so she goes on, therefore, evil is a false law humanity has made for themselves through psychoma or soul sleep. Now, I love this because remember, we talked about last week in the spoken word, right? That the words that we speak become the laws of our life. And so I love that she says false law, because you can read this and be like, well, wait, I've seen evil. I've seen evil things happen. There are awful things in the world. People have treated people in awful ways. It is a false law. But because we create laws, right, we can create even that which is what we would call evil or unwanted. But it is false, right? It's not permanent. It's not eternal, right? It's changeable, right?
And it's unfortunate that people live from that false law, because then it becomes the law of their lives and their experience and how they express themselves on the planet. It is unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she goes on, soul, sleep means that a person's soul has been hypnotized by we'll deal with this term in a second, the race belief of sin, sickness, and death, etc., which is carnal or mortal thought, and their affairs have outpictured it in their illusions. So as we talked about, this book was written in 1925. This term, race belief or race consciousness, you will see in almost every early New Thought text. It's a term that thankfully has been taken out, and there's been work that's been done. For instance, you won't find it in the current version of Science of Mind, right? So race belief, what that means is the human race, right? We could say collective consciousness now, right? We could say the pain body now, right? But what is absolutely true, right? Understanding what that term is, there is a consciousness within humanity that is hypnotized by this idea of sin, sickness, and death, right? Which is an over-identification with the limited part of ourselves, which is an over-identification with our humanness. And then our affairs have outpictured in that way, right? And so when she talks about carnal or mortal thought, right? That which is this soul clothing that I'm wearing is limited. It will wither and die. That's part of the deal, right? But what's true is that this soul clothing is not me. It's my vehicle, right? It's my vehicle. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. PY and I were laughing at ourselves the other day, playing video games, right? And like, oh no, you know.
I was like, get away,
Right,
stop chasing, you know.
Right. Like we can identify, we know that little thing on the screen and those dots and those colors are not us, but we have this identification to the point that we've invested ourselves in the experience so much that it's like, oh no, I'm being hurt. Oh no, I'm being eaten by ghosts, right? But we can step back and it's like we turn the game off. Like, that's not me.
And it's so interesting how quickly we assume the identity of something on screen, but we forget the identity that we've assumed throughout our lifetime, that we've been programmed repeatedly to believe certain things about ourselves as people, as women, as men. We've don't even realize how quickly it can happen, but how extensive it has been throughout our lifetime. And when we're talking about something being asleep, that's the subconscious mind is gathering information, and it is gathering information, and it is gathering information. And then we live from that information, right? And it can happen like that. We take on a belief, we don't challenge it, we don't question it, or we don't even know to question it.
Right. And so that's what she's talking about in that piece. So we go on. We have read in the preceding chapter that a person's soul is their subconscious mind, right? And so we talked about that we need to understand how Florence Scovel Shinn is using these words, right? She's talking about the subconscious mind, and whatever we feel deeply, good or bad, is outpictured by that faithful servant. I love that description of the subconscious mind. It is our faithful servant, right? Ernest Holmes says that it can become your taskmaster or your servant, right? That's always true, right? And so our body and affairs show forth what we have been picturing. The sick person has pictured sickness, the poor person, poverty, the rich person, wealth. Now, these are generalizations.
Yes, everybody. So please put down the hammer.
Right.
No judgment of where you are in your body or your affairs.
Right. But here's what's important, and this is why when she talks about the idea of the race belief or the collective consciousness, what's really true, the sick person isn't consciously thinking about being sick. There's a collective consciousness around sickness, right? The poor person is not specifically and consciously thinking about poverty, but there's a collective consciousness and acceptance about poverty. I mean, this is part of the problematic nature of the world, right? That the world has accepted haves and have-nots. As soon as we collectively do not accept that anymore, we will live in the beloved community. We will live in a world that works for everyone. I mean, this is part of what we get to do in terms of using metaphysical principle to understand that humanity has the opportunity to attach to and then embrace and press their subconscious mind with a new thought. I'm reminded, after George Zimmerman was found not guilty, the message that I preached that Sunday morning was based on the movie Inception, but it was talking about this idea. If we understand in Inception, there was this idea, which is true, that you can plant an idea in someone's mind and they will live out based on that idea, right? And in the movie, they were also taking an idea out. The opportunity always is for us that understand metaphysical principle. Are we planting in mind, at the place of consciousness, individually and then collectively, a belief that everyone can have their own home, that everyone can have healthy meals, that everyone will thrive? That's the opportunity. So I think, unfortunately, someone can take this sentence, the sick man has pictured sickness, the poor man, poverty, the rich man, wealth, and miss the larger point, right? And so often what happens is that we're making people feel guilty for their experience. But the truth is, we live in a world that by design, consciousness, beliefs, is set up that some people have and some people don't.
And we have accepted that as reality.
But that's a false law.
And it's not just the people that are wealthy are accepting it. Right.
it.
They're not just
Say it.
accepting wealth for themselves. They are also accepting that there are other people who don't have what they have. And that they have to either protect it or guard against it or do certain things to ensure they keep it. And so it's not just the ones that don't have. It's also the ones that supposedly do have. And so what we all need to collectively be doing is creating a world where everyone has. Can we even imagine a world where everyone has?
Right. You know, I say it so often, and I understand and I recognize, you know, why many people want to completely do away with capitalism, and that may be the solution. But one of the things we have to understand is the wealth that capitalism has produced is because of greed.
Yeah, I don't know, right, I'm with you. I don't know if it's capitalism that needs to be replaced or colonialism that needs to be replaced.
Right. Right.
And what I mean by that is this desire to just take everything in your purview, whether it is rightfully yours, quote unquote, or not. Colonialism and greed and fear really have
Right.
created the society in which we live.
Right. I can only be wealthy, become wealthy with free labor.
Right.
That's the only
That's
way
how it
I can
happens.
succeed. I have to enslave and subjugate people, and then I can have a good life.
Right.
Right?
And so that just tells you that you're not actually making it on your own. You're using it by the sweat and brow of someone else's existence. So is there a way for everyone to succeed?
Right. 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 All right, we could go.
Yeah,
on
we
there.
could go into
Well,
that. That
let's
would be
go
a
to the
whole...
next. Let's keep going. So she goes on, and I think this is important as well. People often say, why does a little child attract illness when it is too young even to know what it means? I answer that children are sensitive and receptive to the thoughts of others about them and often outpicture the fears of their parents. I heard a metaphysician once say, if you do not run your subconscious mind yourself, someone else will run it for you. Mothers often unconsciously attract illness and disaster to their children by continually holding them in thoughts of fear and watching for symptoms. For example, a friend asked a woman if her little girl had the measles. She replied promptly, "Not yet." This implied that she was expecting the illness and therefore preparing the way for what she did not want for herself and her child. This is an important awareness, right? One, it answers a question that many people have. Right. Well, wait. Well, you know, if illness is attracted through our thoughts and our subconscious beliefs, like how is that possible for children? And what's absolutely true, there's already a consciousness in the family. See,
planet.
Well, right, in the planet, but in this case, in the family. And so often we think, oh, that's just how we are. This is the Smiths. This is how we do. This is how the Johnsons do. I got news for you. What most of that is a set of beliefs that may or may not be true. It's a consciousness that's been established over generations. And how is it that we automatically just become part of, you know, that way of how our families do? This is how we start to understand that children are actually absorbing at a level of consciousness before there's any language, right? Any other types of communication. And in truth, many times what happens, it can be an indicator when we see children manifesting certain things in the family. It's an indicator that the whole family has some work to do, right? That there's actually healing that can happen. And when one is healed, everyone is healed. So it doesn't answer every question, but it is.
It's a piece of it.
But it's a piece of it.
We don't know what each soul's experience is or going to be or supposed to be, but we also know that all of us, it makes me have such compassion for us as children because we didn't have the filter or the knowledge to know, nope, don't want to believe that. Nope, don't want to,
Right.
We didn't have that as children. And it's taking us until our adulthood now to realize that we can undo some things that we've allowed into our experience. And I'm glad to know that that's the case as well.
Yeah. And I'll go back here, right? If you do not run your subconscious mind yourself, someone else will run it for you. Right? I say this so often, the I and the me, right? There's always something outside of us that's communicating to us, right? And that's not always a bad thing, right? If you have those things that are positive and affirmative and constructive and beneficial, this is why we have a zillion and one tools, which are the things that are supporting us and implanting those things which are beneficial in our conscious mind, right? But for most of us, we're not really aware of it, or we may have even downplayed the power of certain inputs, right? But we must be very vigilant. I always quote Willis Kinnear, right? I stand guard at the gateway of my mind, right? Because if you do not run your subconscious mind, someone or something else will. She goes on. However, the woman who is centered and established in right thinking, the woman who sends out only goodwill to her fellow humans and who is without fear cannot be touched or influenced by the negative thoughts of others. In fact, she could then receive only good thoughts as she herself sends forth only good thoughts. Resistance is hell, for it places a person in a state of torment.
There's your hell.
If the the allegorical definition of hell is a state of torment, right? Eternal burning. Resistance is hell. We preached several messages on hell. You could go to our YouTube channel and just type in hell. and
I don't know if I like that.
and you will find, and the first message that comes to mind is how to get out of hell.
Right.
Right. But we recognize that it's a state of mind, right? That's rooted in resistance. And this is why we must understand the law of non-resistance. Again, going back to water, right? Water is never in a state of torment. It's just like, oh, we're in an ice tray and in a freezer now. Okay, I become solid. Oh, we're sitting out for a while. Okay, I'll become liquid. Oh, we're sitting out for even longer. I'll evaporate and just become one with the atmosphere.
Right. Or the heat's turned up. Oh, I think I'll boil. Right.
Right. That's our opportunity. A metaphysician once gave me a wonderful recipe for taking every trick in the game of life. There's that trick thing again. It is the acme of non-resistance. He gave it in this way. At one time in my life, I baptized children, and of course, they had many names. Now I no longer baptize children, but I baptize events. But I give every event the same name. If I have a failure, I baptize its success in the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. I could start speaking
This is
in
some
tongues.
old school right here.
So here's what's interesting, right? Many of you know the song, and you can watch it later. I Bless It. Right? I Bless It. I wrote that song. It was 1,000% inspired by Florence Scovel Shinn, right? And this is part of what that idea is, right? In that song, we say, if I have a problem, I don't worry because I know where my help comes from. I surrender and I let go because the battle belongs to God. So then what do? We bless. We bless it. We bless. We bless it. We let God take control. That's what he's doing. He's baptizing everything as success because he understands what's really going on. Like, I'm not going to resist this thing. If I resist this thing and push against it and say what it shouldn't be and how it should be and all of that stuff, I'm going to be living in torment. So I free my mind and I free the flow of abundance in my life by baptizing it as good.
Right. And so often we think the opposite. It's counterintuitive because when we are experiencing pain, physical pain, emotional pain, we want it to go. And so we set about thinking about the pain, focusing on the pain, and trying to do things for the pain to go away. And what it's saying is, no, I know that this is not the ultimate reality or the final experience. So I bless it. I free myself from it. I know that it will be taken care of. That's my non-resistance.
Yes, yes.
I'm not pretending it didn't happen. I'm just saying I see it, but I know it's not the final word.
There's so many mini lessons in the story of Job, which is solely normally taken as just a story about suffering and managing suffering, which I think is not what it's really about. But when Job lost everything, including his family, he said, "The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Right? The consciousness of Job, what was happening there was he was like, "I bless it. I don't know what anything is for. Right? I don't know what's really happening here. Cosmically, I can't say why, right?" And of course, we as the reader of the story, right, we understand that, there was a conversation with God and the devil. It's like, let's see what happens, right? Which is problematic. That's why it's a story. That's why it's a story, y'all, right? Just like we read the Greek gods do the same thing. It's a story. But he was able to live in this consciousness of blessing it and baptizing it. And so this is why the ultimate outcome of the story, he ends up with more than he ever had, right? And he ends up in this place of his family being blessed.
It's so interesting that we never retain that part of the story, though. Like when we've taught this story when we're young and as children or adults, or whenever we hear this story, all we hear is the suffering. We never retain that the ultimate outcome is he wins. We never retain that part. It's interesting to me because part of these stories are cast in fear. The other thing that I want you to always make sure, anytime you see God and the devil talking, please make sure you understand it is a story. That there is nothing in opposition to God, but it is through man's belief in certain things and trying to write it in such a way that's compelling, that you create characters. And therefore, there would have to be something in opposition.
And so then she gives a beautiful nugget here. In this, we see the great law of transmutation founded on non-resistance. Through his spoken word, every failure was transmuted into success. So what does transmutation mean, right? What is that about, right? You've heard the truth axiom, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? It can only be transformed, the form changed into something else. And so this is the truth of every event, right? That, of course, is backed by thought, that we can transmute it. We can change it into another form, right? We can alchemize it, right? It's just another word, right? And so through his spoken word, the thing that was a failure, he transmuted it into success, right? That dish that didn't have no seasoning, you seasoned it and you transmuted it into something that was delicious, right? We have the capability and possibility to season our lives. You are the salt of the earth. Hello, Jesus the Christ. You have the opportunity to season the events of your life, the experiences of your life, and then they become something that tastes good. That's what transmutation is. That's what alchemizing is.
So anytime you have an experience that is not going the way you a wanted experience, you just shake a little Lowry's on it in your mind. Come back to this. Take a little Lowry's. Those of you who don't know Lowry's, you should have some Lowry's. Shake a little seasoning on it and realize that it can become a new dish.
Yes.
A new experience.
A new experience. Right. You bake that cake and it ain't right, you have more eggs and flour and sugar. You can bake another one. Just tweak the recipe a little bit. Add a little more vanilla this time. Right? This is what transmutation is. And here's the thing. Oh, yes, I see in the comments adobo. Yes.
Adobo, same thing. We got both.
So here's the thing. The reason, we're using this funny, light example because we know that, right? You know that, like, oh, something doesn't have salt on it. I just shake salt or I shake pepper on it, right? And you're not even thinking about, oh my God, I'm a failure. This corn is bland, right?
What do I do?
Right? We don't do that. We just reach for the thing to transform that experience. This is the same truth of all life. What does the law of correspondence say? As above, so below. As below, so above. What that means is that the principle is outpicturing and is working in every facet of life. So just as you know how to use seasoning to transform a dish, it's the same with your mind.
Right. And I have a whole variety of spices. We call them tools to change the flavor of any experience. I have a whole variety of tools.
Yes. That metaphor will go along.
It could preach for days, right?
I love it. So she goes on. For example, she loves her stories. A woman who required money and who knew the spiritual law of opulence was thrown continually in a business way with a man who made her feel very poor. He talked lack and limitation, and she commenced to catch his poverty thoughts, so she disliked him and blamed him for her failure. She knew in order to demonstrate her supply, she must first feel that she had received a feeling of opulence. Must precede its manifestation. So there's some good things in here.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So first of all, he talked lack and limitation, and she commenced to catch his poverty thoughts. So she disliked him and
Right.
blamed him for her failure.
Have y'all ever been in that experience before or known anybody? Hello, somebody. Hello.
Right.
Hello.
Right? No, I can't be around my family members because, they always talking lack and limitation. Mm-hmm. No, well, people
Their
at my
energy
job,
is bad.
yeah, they root chakra vibration, they low vibration,
Root chakra is off.
right? But what's interesting, the wording is very clear here. She commits to catch his poverty thoughts, which means that at some level she allowed it in.
She gave it permission.
At some level, she was believing in two powers. Mm-hmm. She forgot that there was one power. And so in operating in two powers, this is the devil is busy consciousness. Mm-hmm. Right? It's the same consciousness. Someone or something outside of me is the cause and the reason.
As opposed to looking at the something or someone outside of you and seeing it as a mirror, seeing it as a reflection. Oh, wait, I decided to allow myself to agree with this, to commence to, right, to join with. I cannot dislike that person for what I decided to accept as true. I am not a little child anymore.
Yes.
I have complete control over what I allow and commence to believe.
And that's where I love that you just said that, because that's where we get into that difference. It's like, well, what about children and sickness and illness? Right. Okay, we recognize children absorb a lot of things, but at some point we grow up. At some point now we do have the power of choice. At some point we are able to create our own filters, right? PY talks about fear filters all the time, right? And so then she goes on, she says, she knew in order to demonstrate her supply, she must, as Reverend Ike would say, get full of the feeling. She must first feel that she had received. A feeling of opulence must precede its manifestation. She knew that.
I'd say before she even gets full of the feelings, she needs to release the feelings that she had about a friend. Right there, she was holding on to something. She was feeling something and in resistance to the truth. And she aligned herself with something that wasn't true, and then she commenced to be mad at him about it.
Right.
So her energy was all wrong.
Right.
She doesn't talk about it here, but there had to be at least some awareness that I have to let go and forgive and let go of these beliefs that I'm holding about someone else. And then I get full of the feeling.
And what's also interesting about this, what she's saying here is she understood truth principles.
Yes, that's the other part.
Right? But this is what the ego does, and this is what a lot of us do. We get a little, new thought zealous, right? Because we know this principle that we must get full of the feeling in order to demonstrate our supply. Then now the ego makes use of that and supports us in blaming the person outside of us because because that person is the reason now why I'm not able to use the law beneficially, wonderfully, perfectly,
Right.
In the way that I think it should be used, right?
And you've given your power to them.
Yeah, this is how
So
we
you
weaponize
then
spiritual law.
Right. Then you have no power to transmute anything, to change anything. You just gave it away.
And so she's saying, right, she was aware of this principle, and that's part of why she was upset, right? But then what happened? It dawned upon her one day that she was resisting the situation, and as we just said, seeing two powers instead of one. So she came to herself, just as the prodigal son did, right? Thought a new thought and did something different, right? So she blessed the man and baptized the situation's success. She affirmed, as there is only one power, God, this man is here for my good and my prosperity, just what he did not seem to be there for. See, this
From her perception.
Right. Based on what was happening, right? Because he really was talking lack and limitation, right? This is not like saying, oh, what he really meant was, he was talking lack and limitation.
Times
right?
are hard.
Right? As there is only one power, God, this man is here for my good and my prosperity. That's where we come into the one power, right? This is where we transmute any situation. Soon after that, she met, through this man, a woman who gave her for a service rendered several $1,000s, and the man moved to a distant city and faded harmoniously from her life.
Right.
Make the statement, every person is a golden link in the chain of my good, for all people are God in manifestation, awaiting the opportunity given by us, ourselves, to serve the divine plan of our life. Every person, every human, every soul is a golden link in the chain of my good. This is important, right? If you're going somewhere and you may not know anyone, you're going to a conference, you're going to a networking event, right? You're just going to a party. Every person is a golden link in the chain of my good.
Right, and it's not saying that you are abusing someone else, you're using someone else, because you're a link in their chain as well.
Exactly, right? And this is also, I use this term often, I don't know what anything is for, right? This is why she was so busy blaming this man, she didn't understand what the purpose of him being in her life was.
And of course, the Miracles talks about that too.
Right, yeah, that's of course.
I do not know what anything
That's
is for.
right.
I do not know what this is for.
Right,
I think I do.
right.
Based on what's going on with me, based on my perception, based on my past, based on my conditioning, I think I know what's going on. But if what's going on is not for my good, then I do not know what's going on.
Right. And so here again, understanding the deeper wisdom of phrases like nothing but good can come from this, right? It's not Pollyanna. It's not pie in the sky. It's not wishful thinking. It's not pretending that what's happening isn't happening.
Not at all.
There's a recognition, though, that there's only one power. Right? There's a recognition that for all humans are God in manifestation, awaiting the opportunity given by us to serve the divine plan for our lives. See, that's just what I understand. That I'm always working with God in form.
Always working. That's why A Course in Miracles talks about holy encounter. Everything is an opportunity for my healing, for my good, for my connection, for my knowing. Everyone. The person that you can't stand is there for your good. Can you imagine?
Wow.
If you approached it that way. And there are many people that, I would like to think that I could get there right away, but I haven't. But over time, I get to realize, wait, if everyone is here for my good, there's something that this person is here to show me, reveal to me about me or for me.
Yep.
If we thought about it that way, and even those people right now who are out there doing things in opposition to the truth, we have to see this so that we can know to do differently.
She goes on, bless your enemy and you rob them of their ammunition. Their arrows will be transmuted into blessings. Now, this is important. I'm reminded of the Joseph story. But one of the things here, you can read this as bless your enemy and, they can't do nothing to you, right? But that's not what she's saying. And again, this is why you have to understand what transmutation is, right? And it's not even that the person is vicious, right? In the sense, I'm sure from the perspective of the man in that preceding story, right? He wasn't trying to change her consciousness or make her, not think well of herself. That wasn't his intention, right? But we recognize the effect that it can have. So that's why it's important that we're clear in our ability to transmute, right? So even that which is unintentional, right?
Right. He might be thinking he's helping her.
Exactly.
The economy's bad. You
Right.
might not want to consider moving right now. You might
Exactly.
want to consider not leaving, all those kinds of things. From his perspective and experience, he was being loving.
Exactly. And that's why we're talking about the law of non-resistance, right? This is not about combat,
Right.
in that
So
sense.
I'm like, why did you say that?
Right.
You always have bad energy. I'm just going to stop hanging around you.
Or I bless you, I bless you, I bless
I bless you. Because right now, your energy is wrong.
Right. See,
we don't do that.
That's combative. And so, you can read that sentence a few ways, but to understand what it is, what's happening is when you understand that you're operating with one power, then there is no ammunition, right? It's transmuted into blessings. This law is true of nations as well as individuals. Bless a nation, send love and goodwill to every inhabitant, and it is robbed of its power to harm. We can only get the right idea of non-resistance through spiritual understanding, and that's why we're clarifying and clarifying and clarifying. This is a spiritual idea. My students have often said, I don't want to be a doormat. I reply, when you use non-resistance with wisdom, no one will be able to walk over you. But did you hear the statement? When you use non-resistance with what?
Wisdom. Truth, knowledge.
When you use it with wisdom, no one will ever be able to walk over you.
For example, if someone is in an abusive situation, physically, emotionally, you don't stay there, right?
That would not be wise.
That wouldn't be wise.
Right. And that like says it all, right? Like
No,
with
sir.
wisdom. Right? With wisdom, right?
Right.
Oh, I bless them.
And
No.
you can leave the situation and still
Yes,
bless them.
Yes. Put yourself in a place of safety, right? And very important, right? She goes on, this is a wonderful example, right? This is actually a long story. But basically, there was an important phone call that she needed to have, and she was received. And she was really nervous and impatient, right, about it. And so she says, instead of saying divine ideas never conflict, the call will come at the right time, leaving it to infinite intelligence to arrange, she commenced to manage things herself. She said, I made the battle mine, not God's, and remained tense and anxious. This is why I said I Bless It is based on Florence Scovel Shinn, right? Because the battle belongs to God. I bless it. But I highlighted this because you know how you can know when you've made the battle yours? She says she remained tense and anxious.
How you feel. It's so Abraham-esque.
Right. Your emotions are your indicators of where your vibration is.
And that's why Abraham is like, take a nap. Don't make that phone call in the energy under which you currently are operating in.
I made the battle mine, not God's, and remain tense and anxious. Stop, take a breath, right? Whatever it is that you're tense and anxious about right now, are you trying to manage things yourself? Right? She said, I commenced to manage things myself.
Well, and ain't no are you. It's you are managing things yourself when you are in anxiety, worry, doubt, and fear. Because fear is disconnection from answers, from the source, from God, from allowing that power, the only power, to be the power in your life. You are being the power in your life. Because you think you know how it's supposed to be resolved.
Right. There's also a funny thing about this story. Depending on how old you are, this might not make much sense to you because, oh Lord, it's funny, right? I had to calculate in my mind myself, right? So there was a time that only one call could come through at a time, right? This is before call waiting. Y'all remember when you got call waiting on your house at the first time? Anyway, so before call waiting, you would call somebody, they're on the other line, you get a busy signal. There's nothing you could do about it.
I don't know how many phone calls my grandmother would be like, I'm expecting a call, don't get on the phone.
Right. So this is part of what's going on. The other thing is some people, if you didn't want to be bothered, you would take the phone off the hook.
I've done that as well.
Right. And that was the only way you could not be bothered. Right.
There was no caller ID.
There was no caller ID. There was no do not disturb. Right. Right. There was none of that. Right. So she talks about essentially what happened. She was waiting for this call and realized that actually her phone had been off the hook for a long amount of time. So there was no way that she could receive the call. But what was interesting was because she had come to herself and blessed the situation and baptized it as success and affirmed, I cannot lose any call that belongs to me by divine right. I am under grace and not under law, right? And that idea under grace and not under law, not under the law of the world, right? Not under the law of
when things have to happen, time.
And so, interestingly enough, she went through all of these issues. Ultimately, she received the phone call, right? She says a friend rushed out to the nearest telephone to notify the company to reconnect. That all happened wonderful. My phone was connected at once, and 2 minutes later, I received a very important call, and about an hour afterward, the one I had been awaiting. One ships come in over a calm sea.
Ooh, I love this. If y'all affirm anything,
Lord have mercy.
my ship comes in over a calm sea.
So long as we resist the situation, we will have it with us. If we run away from it, it will run after us, right? And so this is an important understanding of manifestation. I think we talked about it in the first week. Allow, the law of allowing, right? That's a calm sea. Flow is a calm sea.
I mean, you watch athletes, they cannot perform at peak skill when they are tense, right? They pull muscles, they don't hit shot. It's basketball season, so that's where my mind is. But they don't perform well. But when they're in the flow and they just let it fly, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, yeah. And I hope that you can also make a connection here, which I think is important. This is why our tools are important. This is then why meditation is important, right? So that we can learn how to access calm within ourselves, because our ships come in over a calm sea,
Right.
right? This is why these tools are important. This is why breathing exercises are wonderful to learn and to have in your arsenal, to learn how, because I've done it. I've been at work. I've been pissed. I've been stressed. And I had to take myself into the bathroom and do some alternate nostril breathing to bring myself back to center before somebody got cussed out.
Right.
I'm keeping it so very real.
Absolutely. And this is also why we pray. We don't just pray. We pray to treat our mind.
Yes.
To calm that place within us that is anxious.
Yes.
Right? This is why we have tools.
And because I recognize that if I want good to come out of any situation that I'm in, I have to be the calm sea. I have to access the calm
Always.
sea that is within me.
Because when you're in fear or doubt or worry, your vision literally narrows. The way you see the world changes. Your physiology changes to a very narrow possibility. Right? And that's the only way you can see it. You don't even see that your car keys were sitting on the table, right? You running all over the house because you think you're late and you're going to lose your job. And you're like, if I just take a breath, my keys have to be here.
There you go. There you go.
Right?
So real.
I came in the house with them. Let me just breathe. They are here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so true.
And this is why we teach the babies. Somebody sent it to me, and I'm sure many of you have seen it. There's a viral video that went around of the two little boys, brothers, and the older brother was supporting his younger brother, right? Teaching him breathing techniques,
Just
right?
breathe, yeah.
Right. Teaching him and supporting him in learning and understanding. These are things that many of us didn't learn as children, right? If we had some of these wonderful tools, that would have been nice. But we're here now. We're adults, and we can make use of this. I'm looking at the time, and we're gonna move forward. But there's one thing that I do love. I think if we don't highlight anything else, one of these last pieces was, oh wow, there's so many little things. Okay. So yes, let's take this affirmation, which is wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
I love this, and you may have heard us. I think we've talked about this in 4T's class. August Gold, I remember her teaching and talking about so often that one of the most powerful prayers that we can pray is "Thy will be done." Now you got to be ready for it. And I remember her saying, she said, I spent about 90 days with this prayer before I started publicly talking to somebody about it, right? Thy will be done. And so here, thy will be done this day. Today is a day of completion. I give thanks for this perfect day. Miracle shall follow miracle, and wonders shall never cease. This is about the consciousness that we bring to each day. Now, and I was saying this in a coaching call yesterday, the thy will be done. Now, you got to be clear about who the thy is, right? Because if you think thy will smite you, right? Thy is judging you.
Then you're going to have some problems.
You're feeling
You're
guilty.
going to have some problems being in non-resistance.
Right. So thy is unconditional love. And so if you need to change that word, right? Love, thy will be done this day, right? Peace, ease, freedom, whatever beneficial and constructive words you have for God, right? Eternal loving presence, thy will be done today. Do that so that you're clear about what your God concept is, and you want its will to be done, knowing that if its will is being done, it's a day of completion that you can give thanks for right now. Miracle followed by miracle. Wonders shall never cease. Right? She also talks about, she tells this wonderful story, about, actually, let me go back. She tells this wonderful story, but she says, in the following chapter, I will give affirmations that I have found most effective. However, one should never use an affirmation unless it is absolutely satisfying and convincing to your own consciousness. And often an affirmative is changed to suit different people. Right? So you'll hear us say or share things, or you may read things here, but I love how she has the evolution of here. The following has brought success to many. I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. The first two lines, I gave the first two lines to one of my students, and then she added the last two, right? She goes on, another student changed it to a wonderful business in a wonderful way, right? So understanding that it's important that, as we talked about getting full of the feeling, that thoughts have to be emotionalized, that the affirmation that you use, it must be absolutely satisfying and convincing to your own consciousness.
Right.
The same thing with your prayer.
And this is why we use affirmations. We're putting in seeds that may that have to grow rooted in something, grounded in something, and it has to feel good and true to you. I could give you an affirmation and it feels good to me, but it might not register with you.
Exactly.
So you plant those seeds that feel true for you,
Yes.
or where you are wanting to go, or who you are wanting to be.
Yes, yes. And this is why, we talked about it in the first week. There are wonderful affirmations here, and Florence Scovel-Shinn is going to give us more in the last two chapters, but it's not about the words.
It's not
right?
about the words.
This is why we're talking principle, principle, principle. When you understand the principle behind it, you understand the principle of gardening, so then you planted apple seeds last year, then you're not like tripped up because now you have tomato seeds, right? There's the same principle applies.
And that's why we say when you undo and when you learn something in one area of your life, you can apply the same principles, techniques, tools to another area of your life. The situation might be slightly different. But if you've mastered it in one area, you just apply it to every other area.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. So we are going to move on. Again, please send us an email, truesunday@celebrationsc.org if you have questions. We're going to move on to the next chapter, the law of karma and the law of forgiveness. There'll be some good things there, and I'm sure we'll be talking about forgiveness worksheets and some of the forgiveness process and clarifying what forgiveness is. I do think at CSC that we teach forgiveness in a very specific and kind of laser-focused way that I still personally find incredibly beneficial and love to see how forgiveness work just really expands folks that we work with one-on-one and really taking that time. So I look forward to all of that goodness next week. It is time for giving. And you may have already seen the information, but if you don't know how to give to CSC, it's very simple. You can go to the website here, celebrationsc.org/give, or you can text to give, 347-744-9500. Just text your dollar amount to that number and follow the instructions. There's a $10 minimum to text to give. It's still my favorite way to give because it's quick, easy, fast,
Mine
safe,
too.
and secure.
And you can set up recurring. That's just the easiest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here at CSC, we're so very clear. We will repeat and repeat and say it again. Give what feels good, because we understand just what we've been talking about, right? That it's the vibration behind whatever we're doing that then makes it effective or ineffective. And so I recognize that many of us have been taught to give out of obligation. We've been taught to give to be do-gooders. We've been taught to give to be perfect, to be nice, to be kind. We've been taught to give to be in God's good graces. We've been taught to give because we
that's a
don't
lot
want to
of
rob
teaching.
God. We've been taught to give to avoid being on the shame list. We've been taught to give, right? In all of these other ways. But when we understand that if we give from the vibration of it feels good to give, I'm enjoying when I give, and I'm giving because I recognize that I'm giving from a well that won't run dry, right? That God is my source, and my many sources of income are simply resources, right? That are constantly replenished and refilled. That is how we experience the complete blessing of giving. And so then this is why we affirm the truth that all the money that I use returns to me multiplied in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. It's coming right back to me. So everyone, please enjoy the remainder of your Sunday. Have an absolutely awesome week. We look forward to either being with you on the prayer call on Wednesday morning or of course back here next Sunday as we continue with We Got Game. Feel free to share this video with someone, let somebody know what's going on, share this teaching. It is dynamic, it's empowering, and I think incredibly relatable. So share it, bring more people into the party,
And make
let's
sure
continue.
you stay up with us. The chapters are really short, but we are taking them chapter by chapter because we want to make sure that we hit all those high points in the chapters.
Yes, yes. All right, bye for now.
Bye for now.
Love y'all.